Good evening. I'll call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock. If you're able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Johnson.
Present.
Kelly.
Here.
McCluskey.
Here.
Polika. Here. Leaks May.
Here. Now for approval of the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Johnson.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
McCluskey.
Yes.
Polika.
Yes.
Leaks May.
Yes. No presentations, so what we are going right to directly is to call to audience. If there's anyone in the audience who'd like to, there we go. All right, you know the drill.
Yeah, hi, Michael Larry, Director of Special Events for the city. And I'd just like to announce that this weekend is Ferndale Pride on Saturday, beginning at 12:30 to 10 p.m. from West 9 Mile Road, Woodward to Livernois. And then also at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning here at the Ferndale City Hall, we'll have the official rainbow flag raising ceremony. And of course, the Honorable Mayor will be there, and we'll have some guest speakers from Affirmations. So I just wanted to make those two quick announcements. Thank you.
Sorry, through the chair. Michael, confirm it's 10:30 or 10 o'clock?
10 a.m.
10 a.m. Okay.
And one more thing, through the chair. Do you know if there will be shuttle from the high school again to the,
Yes.
There will
Yes.
be? Okay, I just wanted to make sure someone was asking.
From the high school and the Kulik
And the Kulik Center?
parking lot, yeah.
Okay.
And I believe from, the business over there on Incabizo, thank you.
Oh,
There's
okay.
going to be shuttle.
All right, good. Service, high school, Kulik, and Cabizo. All right. Any more for call to audience? All right. Good. Looks like we are a little late tonight. So we have no public hearing, and so I'm going to move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda, item 7A, approval of the May 9th, 2024 and May 13th, 2024 meeting minutes. 7B, approval of the resolution to display the Rainbow Progress Pride flag outside Ferndale City Hall and a Rainbow Pride flag at Geary Park's Heroes Memorial Garden. 7C, approval of the resolution declaring June 2024 as Gay Pride Month. 7D, approval of the public service contract using community development block grant funds. 7E, approval of the unregulated contaminant monitoring rule 5, testing of Ferndale's water supply by the ALS Group, USA Corps for $4,300. 7F, approval for Granicus contract renewal with closed captioning. 7G, approval of the special event permit for the 2024 Clean Cruise Show to be held on Saturday, August 3rd, 2024. 7H, approval of the special event permit for the Pig and Whiskey to be held on July 12th through the 14th, 2024. 7I, approval of the city's renewal for property and liability insurance as provided by the MMRMA. 7J, approval of the renewal of the city's fiduciary liability insurance as provided by the Cincinnati Insurance Company. 7K, approval of the fee schedule amendment. 7L, approval of the ARPA Chore Grant Agreement with the Oakland Livingston Human Services Agency. 7M, approval of the Adobe Acrobat software as a service agreement. 7N, approval of the letter of intent for 1000 East 9 Mile Road. 7O, approval of the listed appointments and reappointments to the city boards and commissions. 7P, approval of the renewal of software as a service agreement with the Gov OS for seamless docs in the amount of $8,802.99. 7Q, approval of the 5-year renewal of AT&T's Metro Act permit in the city of Ferndale. 7R, approval of the downtown banner wire replacement for Signorama for up to $5,500. 7S, approval of the proclamation recognizing June 7, 2024 as National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the city of Ferndale. And 7T, approval of bills and payrolls as submitted by the Finance Director and subject to review by the Council Finance Committee. We'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda items.
I move to accept the agenda as presented. Consent agenda as presented.
Holika.
Yes.
Mikulski. Johnson.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Leaks May.
Yes. And it is at this time, I think I would like to take this opportunity now to read the proclamation regarding recognizing the first Friday in June as National Gun Violence Awareness Day. Let me just make this a little bit bigger for my eyes here. Okay. This proclamation declares the first Friday in June to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the city of Ferndale, honoring and remembering all victims and survivors of gun violence, and declaring that we must do more to end this public health crisis. Every day, 120 Americans are killed by gun violence and more than 200 are shot and wounded, with an average of nearly 18,000 gun homicides every year. And Americans are 26 times more likely to die by gun homicide than people in other high-income countries. And Michigan has 1,382 gun deaths every year with a rate of 13.7 deaths per 100,000 people, a crisis that costs the state $16.8 billion each year, of which $380.5 million is paid by taxpayers. Michigan has the 34th highest rate of gun deaths in the U.S., and gun homicides and assaults are concentrated in cities with more than half of all firearm-related gun deaths in the nation occurring in 127 cities. Cities across the nation, including Ferndale, are working to end the senseless violence with evidence-based solutions, and protecting public safety in the communities they serve is the mayor's highest responsibility. Support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from people with dangerous histories. And mayors and law enforcement officers, in partnership with local violence intervention activists and resources, know their communities best, are the most familiar with local criminal activity and how to address it, and are best positioned to understand how to keep their citizens safe. And gun violence prevention is more important than ever as we see an increase in firearm homicides and non-fatal shootings across the country, increased calls to domestic violence hotlines, and an increase in city gun violence. In January 2013, Hadia Pendleton was tragically shot and killed at the age of 15, and on June 7, 2024, to recognize Hadia's 27th birthday, people across the United States will recognize National Gun Violence Awareness Day and wear orange in tribute to Hadia and other victims of gun violence, as well as to the loved ones of those victims. The idea was inspired by a group of Hadia's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange. They chose this color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods, and orange is a color that symbolizes the value of human life. Anyone can join this campaign by pledging to wear orange on June 7th, the first Friday in June 2024, to help raise awareness about gun violence. By wearing orange on June 7th, 2024, Americans will raise the awareness about gun violence and honor the lives of gun violence victims and survivors. We renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the hands of people who should not have access to them. and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our families and communities safe. Now therefore be it resolved that Mayor Raylon Leaks May, City of Ferndale, declares the first Friday in June, June 7th, 2024, to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day. I encourage all citizens to support their local communities' efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives. Thank you. So we have a representative here. Do you mind if we present him with the proclamation? And if you'd like a picture, we're happy to take one with you in your orange. Council two.
Can you speak now?
Do you have something to say? You're more than welcome to do that.
Through the chair, while this gentleman's coming up to the podium, in the past, we have lit Ferndale City Hall in orange on that day. Is that still something that we're able to do to recognize the event? Okay, thank you.
And is it Jeb Bettis?
Jeb Bettis, yes.
Please make your statements.
Good evening, Mayor Leaks May, City Council members, and all present. Thank you for this proclamation and for this opportunity to speak regarding this. Gun violence is the #1 cause of death for children and teens in this country. My wife was in the railroad post office during the mass shooting in the 80s, and she still jumps and stifles a scream when I accidentally close the cabinet door too hard. She still has PTSD all this time later. And basically, that's why I'm an anti-gun violence. I'm anti-gun violence is because of what's happening with my wife. She's still traumatized by it. Thank you for joining dozens of other communities to bring awareness to this epidemic of gun violence in our country. Your commitment, along with the tireless work of activists and peace-loving politicians, gives me hope that we are finally turning the tide on this problem. Important gun legislation, long overdue, was enacted last year. I'm confident that in the next several years, parents of school children will begin to feel less anxious about sending their children off to school, and the rest of us will feel safer going to public gatherings. Thank you very much.
If we can get a picture, if you all, council, if you all would like to.
Sure. You want us to?
I do, of course.
Wasn't planning on being seen from the waist.
Mayor, with your permission, I'd like to read the Gay Pride Month resolution. The City of Ferndale is a community that values its multiple talents and diversity demonstrated by those who live, work, and gather in our city. We, the City Council, support the rights, freedoms, equality, and inclusion of those who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer or questioning, intersex, asexual, and others. We know that the city continues to benefit from LGBTQIA+ persons who reside in and contribute to the quality of life in Ferndale, Oakland County, and throughout the state of Michigan. We affirm June as the month when LGBTQIA+ people worldwide and their straight allies recognize the historical Stonewall riots of 1969 as where the stand for human rights and dignity began, where gay men and women, transsexuals, and drag queens stood up against injustice and unfair treatment. We proudly acknowledge that the City of Ferndale embraces its diversity and that all persons have the right to live with life without prejudice and discrimination based on age, gender, gender identity, race, color, religion, marital status, national origin, sexual orientation, or physical challenges. Therefore, be it resolved that this city council recognizes and celebrates June 2024 as Gay Pride Month in the city of Ferndale and encourages all residents to learn about the historical LGBTQIA+ movement, and that a copy of this resolution be sent to neighboring cities that border the great city of Ferndale, to the executive of the County of Oakland, to the governor of the state of Michigan, and our U.S. representatives to the House of Representatives and our senators. I'd also like to let everyone know that throughout the month of May, we will be flying the pride flags, various pride flags in front of City Hall, on the median on Woodward, through the permission of MDOT, and at the Heroes Garden in Geary Park, as recognizing those who served and died, who recognized as LGBTQIA.
And thank you, Councilman Polika, for advocating for that. All right, we will now move on to the regular agenda. Agenda item 8A, approval of the parking lot resurfacing cement work by Al's Asphalt. Who is presenting that? In the amount of $331,154.25.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So it's kind of a big ask, and because it is, and because our recommendation is that we add this to the pavement improvement program, I'd like to start by explaining a little bit more about that process, and this is just an update from when this was in front of council. So Al's Asphalt, who is our bid recommendation, came in at $3.6 million for the work, and that was 9 bids received. The high bid was about $4.7 million. And part of the reason that we are making the recommendation that we add this to the local paving contract is that there will be no cost added for administration of the RFP to take this out to bid again. We'll benefit from economy of scale. And typically that means that we'll get better unit pricing because it's a larger job. We'll have more bids because pricing will be more competitive, and that'll give us a better price. And then again, there's less cost for bidding process and administration. So because of that, we recommend contracting with the local paver for the additional work. We also have worked with them for the last 2 years, and they do good work. So now to talk about the parking lot resurfacing at, spelling error, Martin and Geary Park. Real quick, the type, location, cost is what this is. So for Martin Road East lot, it needs a reconstruction, which means that the asphalt is in such bad shape that it can't just be resurfaced. It has to go all the way down, and then they have to prepare the base and then put it back together. That is the larger of the lots, and there's some additional work that needs to take place on East Lewiston where it dead ends into the parking lot. That's why that one is about $146,000. Reconstruction, again, is needed at the Martin Road West lot. It's a bit smaller. There's no roadway, so that price is $108,000. Geary Park is in a little bit better shape, so it's just going to be milled and resurfaced. It's not a reconstruction, so it's about half the price. It's also a little bit smaller, so that's $62,000. There's also $15,000, which is a verbal quote for the southwest yard pad expansion, and I'll explain a little bit later on what that is. The total for that work is about $316,154.25. I'll mention that all of these parking lots have been on our CIP for years. They've been noticed as in need of resurfacing and reconstruction, and it has been an unfunded CIP that has been pushed back several years, and they're so bad that they just, we can't put off this, or we would like to not put this off any longer. And then the next slide is complicated, and I try to simplify it as much as possible without giving anyone a headache. But the unit pricing and the material cost for our local paving contract, there was a small material adjustment made on top of that price. So $5 per ton was added to the price for the base mix, which brings it to $125, and then they took $250 off per ton for the finished mix, which brings that cost to $135. The reason I mention that is because it's a slight derivation from unit pricing, and it's an adjustment based on material costs now. When they put their unit pricing together, that was in probably all the way back in October and November, and they were just predicting what prices would be. So you'll notice they gave us an adjustment on the base mix, and then an adjustment in our favor on the finished mix. So parking lot resurfacing at Martin and Gary Parks by the numbers. Al's asphalt quote, to try to explain this simply, there's about 1,145 tons of asphalt base. That additional 5 will add $5,725 to the unit pricing. The 424 tons of finish at the $250 in our favor takes $1,310 off that total, which puts us at $4,415 for the total cost over unit pricing for the 3 parking lots. And to demonstrate, and again, this isn't one for one, but we just got an RFP back today for some parks improvements. It was a much smaller amount of asphalt, but just to demonstrate how you benefit from scale. The price that we got for base was about $111 higher than what we have in our local paving contract, and it's about $109 higher for finish. So if you took those prices, you applied it to the tons that we're getting done in the 3 parking lots, that pricing would lock us in about $184,211 above what our local paving contract is. And again, these aren't one for one. It is a very small amount, but this just does demonstrate that pricing can get significantly worse for smaller jobs. The Southwest Yard expansion, that's the 15K verbal quote. This is just, we would like some additional space to store snow equipment, that's plows, and we have V-box inserts that we didn't always have that, as we've upgraded our plow trucks. We get a V-box insert so that way we're more flexible and can use it in the summer as well as in the winter. We don't currently have a concrete pad, so we end up storing those in soft ground. Mud, dirt gets on them, they sit in water, and we try to put them back in our vehicles. They're kind of sunk in the ground, and it takes just a lot of extra effort. It takes us a lot more time to switch over to our winter operations in the winter. So we sought a verbal quote from Al's Asphalt for a 20 by 100 foot pad, and then there's a little picture that kind of shows how many plows and different pieces of equipment that we would like to get elevated off the ground. And are there any questions? That is roughly it.
I don't know, what is a V-box?
V-box is just a box that goes in the back of a dump truck. It's got a V at the bottom. We load it with salt. That salt hits a conveyor belt and then brings it back to a spreader, and then the spreader throws it on the street.
Okay.
Yeah, but we started converting because then in the winter, or after the winter's over, we can take that box out of the back of the truck and then use it like a square bed. It'll hold more bulk materials and anything that we need to move and transport. So we're not restricted by that V-box.
Through the chair, I don't have any questions, but I do have something that I'd like to share. So some of you may be aware that Al's Asphalt did agree to pled guilty to a bid rigging event that took place between 2013 and 2018. That was involving private contracts, not government contracts. Some residents reached out to me concerned that, are we sure that we're going to be receiving a good service? My understanding is they have provided us service in the past. We've been very pleased with their service. They are still a recognized vendor for MDOT. They're also a recognized vendor for Oakland County, who are still using them. But just to be clear, someone may approach you and say, why are we supporting a company that pled guilty to bid rigging? And again, this happened back in 2013, 2018. I don't know a lot of the details behind it. However, I do know that it was all regarding private contracts, and they were overcharging. And we're actually taking them because they're the lowest bidder. So, I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
I will just add, so I was just looking at my notes, I'll add that the illegal action occurred between 2013 and 2018. Alice has cooperated with that investigation. They've cooperated with us, obviously, because this was a item of concern that we wanted to make sure that we walked through with them prior to accepting the bid and putting them up as a recommendation for the local paving contract. And they have also provided us with some documentation that explains what was going on and has given us a letter that kind of says what those dates were, when that occurred, what it was and was not.
Through the chair, and were they the lowest bid?
Yes. Yep. I think that was. Yes, by about 1.1. Well, that's not true. I would have to look at all of them. They were 1.1 million lower than the highest bid. Without going back to my notes, I couldn't tell you. But I do believe that there was a significant price difference between them and the second lowest bid.
And through the chair, that was from the pricing that was approved at the January 22nd meeting, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Here's my question. You mentioned something about the RFP process and how it costs us money.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go into a little bit more detail about that? Because I was the person who questioned why we didn't have multiple bids on this, and I just want clarity on
Yes.
why that happened.
Yeah, so typically the RFP process for something like this, since it's such a large job, is not done in-house. So we would use Giffords and Webster, our civil engineer, to do that. They would contract. We have a contract with them that states a certain amount of, like a per hour cost. So the cost of them putting together the bid documents, for posting that, for running that, for bringing the bidders in, reading the bids, and then going through that process, giving us a recommendation. There's a significant amount of money. I probably should have gamed that out and then had the exact cost of what that would project out to be, but it is not insignificant. It is a cost savings, and it is also a time savings for our administration.
I would love it if, I mean, clearly I trust your judgment in this case, and I can see the cost efficiency. I would love it if you could game that out, just so we could see that on an ongoing basis, to really put it into dollars and cents, why this made more sense.
And through the chair, I want to follow on my colleague's comments, and this may be more for the assistant city manager and the city manager. But, I'd like for us to figure out, as Councilmember Mikulski said, gaming out when we need to use Giffords, when we need to use these outside parties, and then, how do we build that capacity in-house? Because, I only ask because some of these things are things we do pretty regularly. I fully understand that this kind of bid process is time-consuming and very labor-intensive, but we also have the ability to, leverage, I'm sure, some resources in-house to cut down on the amount of outsourcing of our bid process. I don't want to overburden city staff, but at the same time, that would be a very key cost efficiency for us to start figuring out how to capture.
Any additional questions, comments from council?
And I move the approval of parking lot resurfacing and cement work by Al's Asphalt for $331,154.25.
I think you have to read out where the accounts that it's coming out of.
Okay. I didn't think I would have to read the whole paragraph. Then
Doesn't like it if
You could reference the.
I can reference the
accounts identified in the council's packet.
I move that we approve the payment for resurfacing parking lots at Geary Park and Martin Road Park and constructing a new concrete pad at the Southwest Storage Yard to Al's Asphalt for $331,145.25, with the expenses charged to the listed accounts in the request for council action in the agenda.
Support.
Johnson?
Yes.
Polika?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Mikulski? Leaks May?
Yes. Item 8B, approval of the 2024 pavement joint and crack sealing program in the estimated amount of $66,547, and approval of the DPW director to sign the contract documents following approval of the city attorney.
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. So I'm here to discuss the pavement joint and crack sealing program 2024. This is a relatively simple program. It won't require as much context and explanation as the regular programs, but this is a program that we use to crack seal our roadways. It is scheduled every other year. It was last done in 2022. It will next be done in 2026. We do approximately 20 miles a year. We have about 75 total miles in the city under our jurisdiction, not counting Mile and Woodward. It follows 2 to 3 years after paving, so roads that are getting paved, that got paved in 20 and 21 will be paved this year. And then it's best to pave streets every 2 to 3 years afterwards. As we get out of our road bond, the 10th year is next year. We'll continue to do these at a pace of every 2 to 3 years for each roadway to protect the roadway. This extends the life of roadways for a very minimal investment. The cost of the program, we received 4 bids. Projected budget was $78,500. Our low bid was $66,547. The high bid was $159,173. The parking lot total is about $12,547, and the roadways are $54,000. And that's about 20 miles of roadway. This is the map that shows the areas that are going to be paved. That was included in the attachment with the council packet. That's all the information for this one.
All right. Any questions regarding the pavement project? Repaving project?
Nope, pretty standard. I motion to approve the 2024 pavement joint and crack sealing program in the estimated amount of $66,547, with the expenses split between major and local streets, surface maintenance, repair and maintenance, account numbers 202-000-930.000 and 203-464-930.000, and approve the DPW director to sign contract documents following the approval of the city attorney.
Second?
Polika?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Mikulski? Leaks May?
Yes. And with that, that brings us to call to council, but before we go there, I would like to, some new commissioners and board members were appointed to some boards and commissions, and if you'd like to say anything and introduce yourselves, now would be the opportunity.
Good evening, Ferndale Council. My name is Joel Milliner. I was recently appointed to the Ferndale Housing Commission. I am a longtime resident of Ferndale. I'm about to say Fern Care. I work at Fern Care part-time. What can I tell you? I have had relatives in both of the housing developments here in Withington and in Autumn House. And I look forward to working with the rest of the commission. That's it.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
At this point, it is now called to council, but I will defer to the Assistant City Manager for department head reports.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I will start tonight with our Communications Director, Kara Sokol.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm actually not, I don't have my communications hat on, but as you know, I am the staff liaison for the newly merged Ferndale Arts and Beautification Commission, or FAB. I'm in my third year as the liaison. I was overseeing the Arts and Cultural Commission until it merged with the Beautification Commission, starting this year fresh as the new FAB Commission. I just really wanted to let you guys know that this is, like I said, my third year, and Arts and Cultural Commission members have been kind of slowly working to get a local artists think tank, if you will, together. And it's been kind of I'm trying to, like, basically names in a spreadsheet. It's been a little dusty for a couple of years. You know, they started years ago with this initiative to draw local artists in to fill out a survey, and we have a repository of members. And then, you know, throughout the last year, they struggled. We only had a few members on the commission. There was never quorum, but they had great ideas. And last week, they launched the first event for these artists. It was called the Artist Think Tank. They held it at Incaviso. It was basically, you know, it was run by the whole FAB Commission, but kind of spearheaded by Lynn Clark Gaynor, who's one of our members. And it was so successful. It brought, I'm going to say, roughly 50 to 70 attendees in. They had PJ Jacoke's local Go Comedy in there doing a little bit of improv, and then we got to hear all of these local artists and what they think they can contribute to Ferndale, what kind of creativity we could bring to the city, ideas for new art projects, and I'm really excited to see this momentum in the newly merged group, and I kind of wanted to let you all know, as well as let our community know, and encourage anybody who considers themselves a local artist of any kind of media, including music, really anything you do, mixed media, art on canvas, anything like that, to go to our website and do a quick search for the Art Collective and fill out the survey and be a part of the community, because they're going to be doing a lot more of these kind of events going forward. So that's all I have tonight.
And then next, we're going to have Jenny Beaker come up for a quick update.
Good evening, Council. Just a quick reminder and endorsement of how proud we are to have Ferndale Pride in downtown Ferndale again. This is a great honor for our community. We look forward to welcoming folks from all over the state and elsewhere to come into downtown Ferndale, see what we have to offer. Just a reminder for everyone that the patio zone, pay and take it outside social district, will be suspended for Saturday, June 1st for the Pride event. It will resume as normal on Sunday, but this is a one-day suspension that is, I think, unique for Ferndale Pride. So we encourage folks to certainly explore our bars, restaurants, retail shops, and everything we have to offer in downtown. Thank you.
And then DPW Director Jim Jamison for a quick update on Woodward.
So I'm happy to report that Woodward is getting close to being finished. We have a punch list. We're ironing out a few details with MDOT on the roadway, but all in all, it's looking much better now that all the delineators are in place, signage is there, most of the pavement markings are down. Other than that, we should look out for the bike corrals that DPW will be able to install soon, now that most of the paint has gone down in the bike corral locations. I'll also mention that construction season here in Ferndale is in full swing. Everyone is going to notice that there's work being done somewhere near them. If there are any questions, you can Google Ferndale construction and see details. You can call DPW, you can use C-Click Fix. We will answer your questions. We would love to do so. So just please contact us. And I do want to update Splash Pad because Parks and Rec is not here today. So I will say that Splash Pad was supposed to open It was ready to open, and then there was a broken chip inside the controller, which I actually brought with me today. The new one just got overnighted, and we're hoping to have everything back up and running soon, potentially by the end of the weekend, if everything goes right.
Through the chair. So you brought up the bike lanes, I didn't. But a lot of people have come to me regarding the bike signals that have been installed, like at Marshall and 9 Mile. And they're supposed to benefit the people really driving in the opposite direction, riding their bikes in the opposite direction. The problem is that they've reported to me is they're on the same side as people are stopped, and therefore they can't see the signal because it's like right above their head. And that they've asked, why can't they be moved across the street where it's more visible? I've reached out to you and had the conversation, and MDOT says that's their policy, and that's what they're sticking with, and they have no intentions on changing the location of those lights. So,
Yes, in a nutshell, that is it. And I've talked to MDOT. I've been as forceful as I can. I've said if it's not policy, it's preference. The city's preference will be to turn the signals around. We're waiting to hear back from them definitively. They reached up to Lansing. This is where most of that came from. I understand that part of the problem, as they see it, is there's so many signals there that if the signal was in that location, it would be confusing for drivers turning right. It would be close to pedestrian crosswalk signal, and there's a few other reasons why they said, based on what they've done in the past, that doesn't make sense. And we're in agreement, and I am advocating for the city with MDOT.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just wanted to make sure the public was aware of this. So, we have heard you and agree
We
with you.
have, and that's one of the few details that we're working out.
Okay, so then
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
the last couple updates, last week's bicycle safety session was well attended, and the recording will be posted for those who were unable to attend. NOMO May is ending here at the end of the week. Enforcement will begin June 1, so people have to make sure they have their yards cut before June 1, not after. And then, big news, the Martin Road Rec Facility Open House. This is the first community engagement event for that project, for the conceptual design, is taking place next Tuesday evening, June 4th, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Detroit Curling Club. We're hoping for a good turnout there. And then lastly, last week, Thursday night, we wrapped up season 2 of Ferndale Learn. We had a great group of participants who went through the whole thing. I just want to thank the staff who participated in making it a wonderful experience for everybody. A lot of the staff who participated are here in the room, so thank you everybody for making it such a great, great season. So with that, that's the end of the staff updates.
Then we will move to council, and I will start to my left. Councilman Powell.
Okay, I have a couple things. First, tomorrow, May 29th, at 7 p.m. at Affirmations, will be the Ferndale Pride Interfaith Service. The Ferndale Pride Interfaith Service is an event bringing together different faith traditions to celebrate the LGBTQIA+ community. The theme is transcendence, and they will be sharing how their spirituality helps us transcend and thrive. All faith religions and spiritual traditions are welcome. And as has been mentioned, Ferndale Pride is this Saturday. It opening ceremony start at 12:30 with the stage at Planavon, and will continue through to 10 p.m.-ish. It's going to be over 200 vendors, 9 food trucks. There's going to be drag story time. There is cat adoption with Colony Cat Club and pet photos with Rough Life and Affirmations. Free sexual health screenings. There is the climbing wall and the children's area, and just a lot of things going on. So it's really a family event, open to everyone. That's all I have.
Just to add one more detail about Pride, the Ferndale Accessibility and Inclusion Advisory Commission will be providing a sensory space for folks who need to step away, have some silence, have some alternative sensory stimulation away from all of the activities of Pride. So I would encourage folks to know that that's there, to stop by, say hi to FIAC and the team, the volunteers, and yeah, have a safe and happy and healthy Pride.
You know what area that will be at this year?
You know, I don't.
Okay, 'cause
I'll make sure it is advertised. That's all I have.
Mayor Pro Tem Mikulski?
Oh, okay. I have a couple follow-up items that I want to ask city staff. We, at our last meeting on the 13th, I had asked about the 3-year street-by-street plan for the lead service line replacements. Do we have any update from Giffords and Webster on that?
We're still working on coming up with a way to make that plan a little more long-term. Yep. If it would be beneficial, I would suggest that the DPW presents a little bit on that and kind of explains what we plan on doing. We're actually right now in a program, Get the Lead Out initiative with the EPA, and I feel like we're going to be able to make some changes and adapt our prioritization process just as a result of being involved in that program. Some of our understanding is changing. We're finding there's best practices that we're being connected to through that program and through some additional work with Eagle, and it would probably be worth just updating and including that as an update.
That would be great.
Okay.
I have more questions for you if you want to just.
Okay.
Our pest control program. I am still getting a lot of questions about the results of our pest control program. Anything quantitative, anything qualitative that we can present. I'm hopeful that we have a timeline from Rose Pest Control on that.
We do. I actually met with them last week, and I'm waiting on some data. They provided some information, not in as quality of a presentation as I'd like it to be in. So we kind of changed some of the parameters. What they're measuring was not as specific as we wanted it to be based on the data that we're collecting from that program. Again, I can communicate that to all of council. I could have you in and we can discuss that data if you would like, whichever your options preferred.
I would love to see it first, just to make sure it's understandable by the general public.
Perfect. So I'll follow up with you.
And I got two more for you. The toilets in the parks. Do we still have our restrooms closed?
We have, so part of the plan for restrooms was to open them up for the Memorial Day weekend. The water was turned on, restrooms were ready to go. We're still, as I understand it, having issues with getting the electronic access control to work. We hoped that we would be able to kind of struggle through one more season with that access control working. IT is still working on it, and assuming they can't get it up and running, the plan is to just convert everything that doesn't work and can't be fixed to traditional locks. We have park rangers, which are our seasonal parks employees, that are starting this week, and they will be here throughout the summer, and then the DPW will just have to open them up at 9 a.m. and then close them at 6 p.m. when the seasonal employees leave.
Awesome.
And that is part of the program. And IT is working on upgrading the locks at Geary Park, as those are our most used facilities. So those should be...
Those will be the new locks?
Yep, those should be outfitted for electronic access control in the next couple of weeks.
Outstanding. And speaking of Geary Park, that was the last one. The Geary Park Pavilion roof.
Mm-hmm.
We have had an issue with that roof for a while. It looks like there are no shingles up there, like the asphalt roll has been damaged. Is that on the list of items for DPW to handle?
Is probably, to be honest, pretty far down on the list,
Okay.
but it is on the list.
I will tell you, it has been that way for at least 3 years. So if there's any way that we can make that a little bit of a higher priority so that we don't end up with wood rot or any sort of damage that becomes long-term, it would be really cool.
I can do that.
Those were my questions for him, and I have one more. And this one is to our Assistant City Manager. Something that has been an issue for quite some time are double fences. And for a couple years now, I've been kicking around the idea of finding a way to update our ordinances so that we disallow double fences basically for any new fence construction. I don't think we can do it retroactively, but any new fence construction, we can't have them abutting each other. Reason being, as you attended our wonderful rat walk, it becomes a rat highway. And it is a very serious issue. Spring is when I see the first wave of rat situations, and it has become abundantly clear that the areas that have it the worst are always associated with those double fences. So if that's something that we can have the ordinance committee work on, I have examples of language and all sorts of things that I can share with you.
Yeah, that's on the code rewrite list of things to discuss with the steering committee and then planning commission and then eventually city council. There's a couple issues with it in that a lot of times we find neighbor complaints. So if one neighbor doesn't like the other neighbor and one wants to put up a fence and the other one refuses to remove the fence, then you start having conflicts. But it is on our list to have a conversation with steering committee, planning commission, and then council on it.
And what steering committee is that?
Steering committee for the code rewrite.
Okay.
So we have a steering committee made up of Councilor Pollica and Michelle Foster, our chair, and staff, and then a couple members of the public.
Okay. Is there any chance that I can sit in on that meeting when it's discussed?
Yeah, we're coming up soon. I think Kyle this week will be providing McKenna with our final revisions. Then they will make the corrections, and then I think we have a Gantt chart for completing the code rewrite, which will include a steering committee very soon, in the next probably month, to run all the changes by then.
Awesome.
We can include you.
That would be great. Thank you. Those are all my questions, and then I just wanted to thank our CED department, our code enforcement, our city manager for attending the rat walk. It is always exciting. You never know what you're going to see. I wanted to thank the Ferndale Memorial Association. I think the parade went quite well yesterday. And thank the Ferndale Arts and Beautification Commission. That artist think tank was really amazing, and thank you for calling that out, Kira.
So before we go to the next, I just had to say, I was just thinking about when you mentioned about that little, like, roadway of, this visual I had with rats kind of walking back and forth, just walking past each other, suitcase in hand, like, let's go here, let's go there. I just had like a visual. It was just funny. But I get it, all right.
I just want to echo what has already been said and thank the Ferndale Arts and Beautification Commission, FAB, for their fabulous job on the event last week. And they are planning on doing that quarterly, so any artists interested can join in. Also, the Memorial Day Parade, Dominic and Suzanne, they did a fabulous job. Super proud of them. Looking forward to Pride and a successful, safe Pride. And then I had a question for James. When I was walking in the parade, I noticed that Pinecrest, the crosswalk is hard to see with the trees, and I know that was going to be addressed when the students presented for us, but it looks like it's overgrown again.
Yeah, that still is, and we're still kind of weighing whether we just take that whole tree out. We don't really like to do that, but I don't know if there's going to be another option.
Can I suggest an option? Move the walk south of the tree.
At the corner instead of in the
Yeah,
middle.
at the corner.
Okay.
Let's not take out a tree just because it's blocking a side.
But I think that, so it's Lewiston, and then what's the next? Breckenridge right there, right?
Breckenridge, and I think, yeah, it's Lewiston that dead ends into the park. So I
No,
think
that's
you could put it.
Camborne.
Camborne, yes.
Houston, dead ends into.
So, yeah, I think Camborne would be
house.
Yeah.
the corner right there.
Well, I'm in favor of whichever option is cheaper.
And
tear the tree out
safe for the
myself.
We'll
children.
look into, yeah,
Safe
that
for the
tree.
children would be the most important in my book, so.
yep. We're looking at a few options, but the problem is that tree is like right in front of the sign, and the sign is right where it should be in
Well, yeah, for the
relation
walk
to the
being where it
crosswalk.
is, but if you move the walk, actually, if you move the walk to where the entrance to the skate park is, that actually, to me, makes more sense, because now
Yeah.
you're entering it right into the park,
Yes.
which is why what most people are trying to do.
Yeah, and there may be the ability to do that on the north side of Camborne. I know that when we repaved Pinecrest, we did look at this a lot, so I will talk to the people that were there when that was planned. I do know that there's a conflict on the south side of Camborne where there's an electric pole, like right in the middle of where that sidewalk would run. So, and know that there is a solution. I'm not sure it's going to be as easy of a solution as we think until I talk to the people that planned the street project when they planned the repaving of Pinecrest.
I like to avoid taking out trees, especially old growth trees that don't need to come out.
I totally agree.
Okay.
And can we make that a priority since we're coming into park season?
Yes.
And then Chief, could we get patrol over there to keep an eye on it until we get a solution? Thank you.
Okay, all right. Well, I think that I would like to echo what I heard about the Memorial Day Parade. I thought it was a great event. We had some new attendees, Affirmations walk with us for the first time. Pleasant Ridge Mayor Brett Scott walked with us for the first time. And I just thought it was great that we opened it up to other groups and individuals to join us. I want to also thank the Ferndale Board of Education, the Harrow School Marching Band, DPW, Michael Larry, was he still here? For always making it a wonderful event and taking care of us. Police, fire, police department, the auxiliary police, Ferndale Honor Guard, Fire Department, Historical Society, Parade Marshal William Gamble, Specialist E4, U.S. Army, and the Ferndale Garden Club, as well as the Memorial Association as well. I think for their first, for Dominic's first stab at it, I think he did a great job. So with that being said, I call this meeting to adjourn at 7:57. Thank you.